Welcome to episode 244 of the Grip Strip podcast, the Shenanigans edition of the Grip Strip podcast. My name is Philip Matthew. I'm your host. And as always, I'm with my co host, the iRacing Indy 500 champion, computer genius, a gentleman and a scholar. His name is Josh Fine. What's going on, man?
Doing great, Phil. Another year older, of course. But I think we'll have to say this in addition to all the superlatives for both of us. We're also NASCAR bots, right? According to some in NASCAR leadership. So yeah, given all of that, what a shenanigans that we saw throughout all the entire weekend. I guess we can even throw Formula One in there with all the rain that happened, of course, over there. So yeah, a lot of shenanigans throughout the world of motorsports right now.
Yeah, so of course, happy belated birthday to your brother, and sounds like or seems like everything was cool and good and enjoyable, and another year older. It's still the same old deal. I mean, now you get to go and say you're another year older and you went and raced across the country, but that's definitely that's an all-timer for life. So you got that on a lot of us for sure. The shenanigans that took place this weekend in Martinsville, pretty embarrassing. It ended with the Cup Series where Chevy blatantly told multiple drivers to not push and basically put a wall up for William Byron to make the Final Four. Bubba Wallace ends up having some sort of an issue that coincided conveniently with Christopher Bell hitting the fence and him doing his pseudo Hail Melon. He had initially got in, but then got kicked out of the Final Four, so does not get back in to the Final Four. He's been there the last couple of years, or been in the mix the last few years to be in that. So unfortunate for him. We'll talk about everything that went on. And Ryan Blaney, of course, 2 years in a row advancing with a victory in the Martinsville race to the Final Four. In the Xfinity series, Eric Almirola swept the races in Xfinity. I said Xfinity already. So swept both of them for the year, but behind him, Cole Custer and Chandler Smith were slapping each other, or whatever the heck they want to call whatever that was. Chandler Smith, who doesn't seem like he has a ride or has an opportunity, is missed out on the Final Four, while Cole Custer and Justin Allgaier were able to stay in due to their points acquired throughout the season. In the Truck Series, Christian Eckes went and hit former multi-time champion Ben Rhodes and Taylor Gray on his way to a victory and advancing into the Final Four. In the Truck Series, I think we basically said no major changes across the board, and really the only major change that took place was in the Cup Series. So that's pretty interesting how that all worked out. In Formula One, Fish Lips goes out from 17th, wins the Brazilian Grand Prix, and probably puts away the championship, the Drivers' Championship. They're going to end up finishing third in Constructors, which is whatever, but Fish Lips went out there and one of his best drives of his career, without a doubt. I think he's an absolute tool, but the guy, when he actually shows his driving ability, is a really, really good driver, and that was proof. He proved that on Sunday in Sao Paulo. And interestingly enough, the other two drivers that were on the podium were the Alpine duo, which essentially flipped their whole entire season in one day. Moved them from 9th to 6th in the Constructors' Championship. So huge result for that. We'll go and get in everything that took place in Brazil. We'll talk about NFL Week 9, where after and also trade deadline day, along with a pretty important day in our country, but as we do this recording, but I'm going to pass on mentioning that. I'm passing on mentioning that while also watching the 2011 Ford 400. The World Series, there's not going to be much talk on that. That's the Yankees ended up losing in 5. And it was one of the worst half innings of baseball I've ever watched in my life. Took place for that to basically blow up in Game 5. The GSP Roundup will cover MotoGP Moto 2 in Malaysia and the announcement of where they'll race the final race since Valencia unfortunately is having serious weather and issues and damage. So they will not be able to race there, and our thoughts are for the people in Valencia that are fighting that. I mean, like Josh, you've been through it with the weather issues down there, and also Joe. So I mean, it's crazy what's going on. I mean, could say that about a lot of things, but WEC had their finale in Bahrain, and then they had a rookie test afterwards. A certain goat, a certain doctor went out there and did pretty well for himself. We'll talk about that. And then NHRA at Las Vegas with the return of John Force for the first time since his massive accident. And JFR came through with a double, and Austin Prock, if it wasn't a certainty that he was going to win the championship, I think he basically went out there and did it last weekend. We will preview championship weekend at Phoenix and make our picks for who wins the race and who wins the championship. Maybe they're the same person. Josh will let us know all things going on iRacing, gaming, and sim segment, and then we'll call it a day. But first and foremost, we will start with NASCAR, the Xfinity 500 at Martinsville. Wow, that is, oh man, throwing back to literally his first race. That is interesting. Wow. And the skew of the number for Martin Truex Jr. too. So that is something. That's a cool looking car. It'll look good in color chrome or whatever in the special finishes. After what had taken place the other 2 days, I'm not really surprised that it devolved the way it did at Martinsville. But in the end, the defending series champion had one of the fastest cars all day, and when it counted, went up there and took the victory away from his buddy there. Ryan Blaney taking the win away from William Clyde Elliott II, who needed the win. Both of them needed to win to get in. Kyle Larson third, Gumby Cindric fourth, Denny Hamlin from 37th finished fifth after he wrecked in practice. They repaired the car. He started tailback, got all the way up there. William Byron was sixth. We'll talk about him in a little bit. Bald Spot Dylan, Ross Chastain, who played flankers for him, Brad Keselowski, who ended up leading the most laps in the race, multi-time winner at Martinsville, but it's been a while for him. And Joey Logano in the top 10. Shane Van Gisbergen finishing 12th on a short track. That is something. 17 cars finished on the lead lap. Stewart Haas, through all of the Stewart Haas cars, actually finished on the lead lap, which is something. And then, you got SVG, and Hemrick actually finished on the lead lap. And then Bubba Wallace was a lap down in 18th. Christopher Bell also finished a lap down. He was in 22nd. Martin Truex Jr. qualified on pole, but had issues, a speeding penalty, and never was able to recover from that after leading the initial first 41 laps of the race. And Tyler Reddick had a litany of issues and was lucky he was able to advance the week before, because he would have been eliminated otherwise. So I mean, we're going to get into the whole race manipulation, Bell and Byron thing later, but I think we talked about it, the possibility of like the Hendrick meltdown happening, where it was possible where they would have not had anybody make the final four, and it had happened. It did happen. But of course, because it's NASCAR and they're more like WWE, they had to go and put a Hendrick car back in the playoff. But speaking of teams that actually went out and won races, the Penske Racing team went out and won 2 of the 3 races in this round. And the defending series champion, Ryan Blaney, who's had a rough go of it in recent races, went out and proved why he's a champion. On Sunday, Josh, taking it away from his buddy Clyde and Young Money.
Yeah, Ryan Blaney kind of, he didn't seem like at first like he was really up there. But then as kind of the race went on, and he got up into the top 5, they looked like there was going to be a chance, and then just the way the strategy worked out and the way his car was handling there at the end. Kyle Larson, of course, led a good chunk of the final portion of the race, but then Chase Elliott went and caught up to him and overtook him, but then Ryan Blaney went and had a better car, and he was able to overtake in the middle of turn 1 and 2, or coming off the turn 1 and 2, taking the high line and then passing into turn 3 and 4 there. So yeah, for Blaney, I mean, it's exactly how he won last year. Well, in a similar fashion, of course, winning the final race. And I mean, what a way to win it. Of course, the previous week at Homestead, they thought that they gave up a chance to win the championship, but he wins his way to get into the championship for us. So he joins his teammate there, and Joey Logano, and goes and has a chance to compete this championship, which, I mean, the two of them, I mean, statistically speaking, I mean, they're, haven't had quite the statistics as past champions or past contenders in this, but they're in it, so they definitely have an opportunity there to, go out and get, for either of them to get the title and all that. But of course, the biggest, controversy in this, of course, the ending of this with William Byron getting in, and Ross Chastain and Austin Dillon basically manipulating the race, because I guess they had a deal. I guess Chevy has got a deal worked out between Hendrick, Childress, and Trackhouse, which isn't surprising to hear that. Yeah, I mean, even for Hendrick, I mean, I guess it's a interesting that they would all work together like that, but they did. Brad Keselowski, of course, blocked in by all of them there, and of course, not surprised that Brad Keselowski says afterwards that this should be the final straw for the last straw for the playoff system there. So, this really, I mean, yeah, don't think you can say it any other way else. Race manipulation there, and then of course Darrell Wallace looked, I mean, on camera at least, looked suspect in how that ended there, but it just was seemed more coincidental than anything. But they get heavy-handed too in the fines there today. So no other way to put it. It's race manipulation. I mean, it's an example that this should end. The playoff system should just go away completely. But probably won't. But I mean, to me, they announced the fines and the punishments that crew chiefs, spotters, team executives for the 1, 3, and the 23 all suspended for the final race, and then 100,000 fine to the teams, and then 100,000 fine to the drivers, which is actually pretty consistent from what they fined Cole Custer for manipulating the race for Chase Briscoe back in 2022 at the Roval there. But I mean, this is race manipulation there. I mean, I personally don't think they went far enough. I mean, I think you're gonna punch them if you want to discourage this kind of stuff. That they should just suspend them for the rest of the season. All of them, for the rest of the season, even just flat out ban them.
You mean next year?
Yeah.
I mean, basically either ban them, or suspend them for all of next year. Yeah,
yeah.
That's what it would be, because obviously it doesn't. They suspend them one race, and the point is there's one race to go. It doesn't mean jack shit.
Yeah, the rest of the year, or this race and next year. I mean, I think that's what you got to do, is something like so heavy like that it would discourage, because obviously, if you have multiple teams and drivers, personnel, get banned for a lengthy period of time, that's that should discourage it, in my opinion. So that's pretty extreme, but maybe that's what they need to do, is start handing out very extreme punishments to discourage this, if they're gonna if the teams are gonna go out and do this kind of stuff, which, I mean, it's a product of the system. So you have that, and then of course NASCAR, of course, they aren't going to do that, but that's part of it. But don't really like that it's come down to this. I mean, it's basically Michael Waltrip all over again from 2013, although Penske, ironically, was part of that as well, with the deal that they made with Front Row, of course, in the lawsuit as well back in 2013. So you have that, and of course, in the end, a Hendrick car gets back into the playoffs with the 24 there, just like it did in 2013 when Jeff Gordon got inserted, and then, of course, William Byron gets put into the playoffs when they use the rules to determine that Christopher Bell did the wall riding thing like Ross Chastain did, although I think this was more incidental, but maybe he needed to pull off of the wall to not get the penalty there. So of course a lot of big dark cloud, I think, or stain on the, I guess, championship 4 right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's embarrassing. You consider the kind of stuff that's gone on all year, and you get to this race, which is such a crucial moment in the season. One of the tracks that people love in Martinsville. They actually had a good race. Yes, there were dominant figures in Brad Keselowski and in William Clyde Elliott II, but you had a few other guys that were double-digit lap leaders. I mentioned Truex early in the race. Byron did lead 51 laps. Larson led 71 laps. So the fact is, Hendrick cars were up there. I mean, it's not like they weren't in the mix. All of them, I think, got some stage points. Three of them got stage points in both stages. Bowman did, and then Elliott got stage 1 win. But I mean, I know that Chevy is. I've always had that problem. I mean, not probably because I don't like Chevy, other than when Tony had to drive one. Um, or a driver that I liked, like when Brad drove for JRM or whatever it was back in the day. Um, I just feel like they do this kind of stuff, or they've been involved in this more often than not. They go after Toyota because it's easier, because Bell went and did the Hail Melon Light. Um, and it's easy to go after Darrell Walls Jr. no matter what, because they just like to have that controversy and just shove them into any controversial moment they can, because it's easy to go after it's easy to go after Bubba. They just love to do it. It seems to be like a ongoing trend. Um, Even though he is one of the most popular drivers in the sport, he's the one that most of these LCD people also hate. So it's convenient. When you have Dylan, whose grandfather is a waste, and you have Ross Chastain with um, a guy in Justin Marks, and then Dale going out there. I mean, this is a guy a couple of years ago did one of the coolest things that's ever happened in the history of NASCAR, and then now he's just sitting there driving around and laying down. He's the same guy that I guess Rick and Fat Fallon went and threatened his job and life or something. You know, probably the same way as he faked cancer. He definitely went and didn't fake that he was going to screw him over, and all of a sudden Ross Chastain became a pushover. Um, it's ridiculous that this is what cup racing has become. That we're getting into like WWE level mid card storylines like this. Um, it should be about the racing. It should be about Ryan Blaney going out there and winning the race and beating those Hendrick guys, but it isn't. Um, we're talking about cars and teams that were either eliminated or didn't even make it. 3 drivers that didn't even make it into the playoff, for various reasons. And we're talking about Christopher Bell, who has been one of the best drivers all year and has been consistent the vast majority of the season. And to go out that way is not great. And then you have Byron, who, I mean, is a product of this system. If William Byron actually had to put together a full season, he'd be Ryan Newman in his prime, because the guy figures out a way to win like 2 or 3 races at the start of the year, disappear for like 4 months, and then all of a sudden kind of start doing stuff again. This year, bet more than other years. I mean, the championship system, like Brad said, is, in the words of Al Michaels, totally farcical, and we've completely, like, John Hine had the website Jump the Shark. We've jumped the shark with this system, and there has to be a better way. When you look at the points, when you look at the point standings, and the guy who's 15th in points is in the final 4, and I don't let we all know that I'm not a Kyle Larson guy. But when Kyle Larson, who is the best driver this whole season, is not in there, but Pizza Face, who's 15th, you have two guys that are outside of the top 10 in points, I think, or no, he's outside of the top 10 in points. I think one of them was 9th, and then you had 2 in the top 5 if you go for full season standings. Now, of course, they'll say, well, it isn't a full season championship, it's because of the stages, this, that, and the other thing. We're just taking how many points that are there. Logano hasn't been anywhere near the front in points, largely due to the amount of issues he had early in the year, even though he ran really, really well. Blaney has been relatively consistent. And once he started winning races, has been up there. Reddick, terrible playoff, absolutely god awful playoff, but he did what he needed to do in Vegas. Period. End of story. Byron, it's ridiculous, and it's going to continue to be ridiculous. And I know what NASCAR's plan is. You watch this sport long enough, you kind of can figure out the gimmick, and the gimmick is they want to put them over, based on a bunch of things, but they want to put them over, because for their benefit, not for the benefit of the sport, because it wouldn't benefit the sport having William Byron become the champion. The guy's got the personality of a garbage can, and you're gonna go and he shows up for 3 months a year, and you're gonna go and tell me this son of a bitch is gonna be the champion because he drives for Jeffy and Fat Felon? Like, get the fuck out of here. It's a joke. In terms of the points, I mean, we had the finish, and I mean, the driver points, yeah. So right now, in terms of who's fifth, yeah, I mean, Bell would end up right now has a 24-point lead on Kyle Larson, and yeah, so that's pretty much done there. And then Chase Elliott is, what is it, 59 points back. So yeah, essentially Larson and Bell will be racing for fifth. And you have Truex right now is 4 points out of Gumby Cindric for 10th in points. Daniel Suarez, wow, Daniel Suarez is actually 12th. Interesting. Yeah, so we'll go from there to, we went through those points. So, I mean, we'll talk about, there's teams, crew members suspended. Josh mentioned all of that, so it's going to affect all those teams that were part of the race manipulation. Whatever this team Amerivet, whoever they are, looks like part of the money team or whatever. They'll have Jeb Burton of all people this weekend. They had Ty Dillon. So I guess that'll be the car where you just have the most random fucks you can find. Atlanta Motor Speedway, New Jersey native. So he's throwing back to his for his first ever start. That is something. 5 drivers amassed more consecutive starts. Yeah, Jeffy, Ricky Rudd, Kevin Harvick, Bobby Labonte, and Rusty Wallace. Wow, that's pretty cool. That car is going to look cool for sure. That should be a diecast if they actually bother to make it. That should sell very well because it's a great looking
for Truex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Truex's throwback to his the one car for DEI way back when.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's move on to the Xfinity series. We have the easy way is Eric Almirola dominated the race, which he did. After that, you had 4 other drivers that led double-digit laps, but not very many because there's 250 laps in the race, and Almirola led 150 of them. So Eric Almirola, Sammy Smith, Chandler Smith, Cole Custer, Justin Allgaier, your top 5. Sheldon Creed, Anthony Alfredo, who started on the outside pole. Parker Kligerman, Jeb Burton, and Myatt Snyder, who got spun at least once during that race. Ended up finishing 10th, so credit to him for a guy who doesn't get to run very much. Jesse Love, Austin Hill, Austin Hill had already locked himself in, so he was fine. Jesse Love, unfortunately, gets knocked out, but still will win Rookie of the Year. And then Wheelan Engineering announced an extension, so he'll have a ride next year. Sam Mayer finished 30th after a wreck, so his chance to make the Final Four in his last race for Junior Motorsports went out the window. And then AJ Allmendinger was one of numerous people that seemed to get into it with Cole Custer on Saturday night and paid the price early. So that'll be interesting how that all goes on this Saturday at Phoenix. Parker Retzloff qualified on pole for Jordan Anderson Racing, had a decent car, couldn't get a good. His starts and restarts were terrible, and that led to the wreck that took him out of the race. I mean, I'm trying to remember who ran him over, but yeah, 131. Yeah, so Sam Mayer and then one other car ran him over. So I mean, this race was similar. A lot of cautions, 13 cautions for 84 laps. Not really great the driving standards. I mean, Cole Custer is going to the Cup Series or back to the Cup Series next year, and he's a defending series champion, but he drove like a moron. And he looked like an absolute fool doing it. So, I mean, I have no idea why he needed to drive that way, but it's the whole question for another day, I guess. But Almirola dominated, not surprising. Sammy Smith tried to do a second Hail Mary and was close, but not close enough. Chandler Smith had been up front all day, really, but lost track position late. Allgaier just did what he had to do to make it into the Final Four. And yeah, I mean, that's really what it is. I mean, for AJ Allmendinger to get wrecked 13 laps into a 250 lap race is not great, considering, you know, what the season has been for them for the most part. But in the end, you know, the 21, the 16 won, so they were safe. And then you had two drivers that needed to make it in either through a win or through points, and the two guys that were in the points did so. Almirola will move forward into the owners' points championship 4. And in overall, he had the lead by 4 points over the 7 car and 14 over those 00. So it was actually an interesting battle there. So now it's a straight up fight. And then the RCR 21 will be the 4th car in the owners' points. So that's we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, Almirola gets the win. Chandler Smith left wondering what his career is going to be next year, but he'll be he knows he has a job somewhere, whatever that is, but it may not be in a race car. But at least he went and slapped Cole Custer.
Indeed, he did. Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about earlier, the slap that was heard around Martinsville, I guess, with Chandler Smith. I mean, I thought it looked like a punch, but I guess it was more of a slap there. But yeah, I mean, Cole Custer, of course, there's a picture of him just having a big old smile on his face when he did that. And yeah, that's a crazy situation there. And I mean, we've seen what Cole Custer can do because he went and tackled John Hunter Nemechek like a linebacker back in 2016 at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. So we've seen that happen before. So don't mess with Cole Custer. That guy can fight. So yeah, when the guy as big and bulky like he is, and laughs when he gets slapped in the face, that's not a guy you want to mess with. And of course, Chandler Smith received, I think, $10,000 or $12,000 in fines today as part of the penalties announced today. So on top of that, on top of being out of the playoffs now, so for Chandler Smith, so yeah, unfortunate there. And now we'll see if he has a ride even in 2025 there. But yeah, a lot of driving standards here, of course, on the line with lots of wrecks and throughout the field. And of course, yeah, Cole Custer, of course, got into Chandler Smith, and they had a bit of a tussle there in the race towards the end, and that definitely led part of the outcome, or influenced part of the outcome there. And of course, Chandler Smith out of the playoffs down, like you said. Sammy Smith, Hail Mary there, but not enough. And I mean, I think it's probably good that the guys that have qualified for this championship are the guys, and we didn't see any surprise results or any upsets or anything. I think maybe the only one that could have happened, Sam Mayer, but he didn't have anything there and ended up crashing out of the race late there. So yeah, I think the only one that really surprised me is Parker Retzlaff qualifying on pole, but then he crashed pretty early on in this race too. So yeah, a bit of an issue there, but yeah, a bit surprising to see him, because when I saw the qualifying results, so he qualified on pole, that's kind of shocking for him, but didn't get the result that he probably wanted there. But yeah, not surprised by the championship 4 at all. Justin Allgaier, of course, makes it in. Cole Custer makes it in. And of course, Allmendinger and Austin Hill already won their races. So yeah, not surprising at all to see any of that. So yeah, we'll see what this looks like, I guess, yeah, next Saturday in Xfinity. And yeah, looking forward to, I think, each of these drivers, Justin Allgaier trying to look for his first Xfinity championship, Cole Custer defending the title, Austin Hill, one of the challengers, and AJ Allmendinger, which, I think AJ Allmendinger's career arc in NASCAR has been pretty up and down, and now if he wins the Xfinity title, yeah, I think that'd be pretty nice. I mean, I don't know how well he'll do, going back into the Cup car, but considering that he's actually probably had a better Xfinity career than he has a Cup career, I mean, that's a pretty considerable achievement there to have if he's able to go and do it here in Phoenix.
Let's just say that Celsius wouldn't be the only beverage that he'd be drinking if that happened, and the likely scenario that he'd be riding on the back of Chris Rice is very high, along with Matt Collig. Basically, I think Fireman's carrying AJ Allmendinger out of victory lane. I think just for the antics and shenanigans of that, that's who I want to see win. But Cole Custer yet again, showing why he probably, and I think in high school he was a wrestler too, or so. He was involved in some sport, because the guy has no neck, and he's built like he eats Andy's frozen custard on a regular basis. But a guy can drive when he decides to, and that's why he's a champion. But on Saturday, he drove like an idiot, and he wasn't the only one. But he took a lot of liberties, knowing that he's going back up to Cup, and he figures that's going to be the long-term deal. So, I mean, for AJ, he did way better than what the Collie cars have been doing this year. Won a race, and I think probably, and he said he wanted to stay up, and probably that would have been the right decision compared to what they ended up going with. But if the way to go and make up for that is if he goes out there on Saturday and wins. I mean, granted, you have Allgaier who's been so close so many times. Can he finally get the job done? Can JRM get that championship? At Phoenix, they had 3 out of the 4 when Keebler Gibbs was in there, couldn't get it done. They've had so many opportunities with Allgaier, but then they've just in general. And I think Reddick was the last champion for JRM, unless yeah, I think yeah, that Homestead years ago. So I mean, it's been a while for Junior and Kelly and company. They've done so much for the sport, keeping the Xfinity series afloat. And I think it would be a payoff for Allgaier, who's a lifer in the Xfinity series, harkening back to the days of Tommy Houston and LD Ottinger and Jack Ingram and those kind of guys, like Jason Kellers and Jeff Greens and stuff like that, who were in the series. Randy LaJoy, I think it would be a cool payoff. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting battle at Phoenix, especially after what took place last week. The Truck Series race, I mean, it's the Truck Series. It's not. It really does not surprise me that it just basically was a wannabe demo derby. I mean, then nothing really happened. I mean, there's only 6 cautions. There's what, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's like 4 for cause. And then 2 of them were stage breaks. I mean, there's huge wrecks late in the race, whatever. You have, I mean, we'll get into what Christian Eckes did. He led 187 of the race's 200 laps. Ben Rhodes finished second, the former multi-time series champion. Chase Purdy finished third. Taylor Gray finished fourth. Nick Sanchez trying to make it into the Final Four. He needed to go up there and do something, but he finished fifth. Lane Riggs sixth. Corey Heim, Tyler Ankrum, Grant Enfinger from basically tailback to ninth. Stu Ball 10th. Ty Majeski was 11th. Connor Zilich was 12th. 3-time series champion Matt Crafton finished 13th. Rajak Ruth had problems, ended up finishing 31st, so his opportunity to make the Final Four went away early. Yeah, so, I mean, Christian Eckes definitely took liberties and ran over Ben Rhodes and Taylor Gray at the end of that deal to win the race. I think even if he hadn't won the race, I think he was gonna be all right points wise. I feel like that would have been the case, but like he was leading the points there. So I mean, he would have been, even without the win, I think he would have made it in, because of the points. Because Taylor Gray was let's just say Taylor Gray makes it, and so it's Enfinger and Taylor Gray. It would have been Eckes and Corey Heim making it into the Final Four, but I guess Christian Eckes sought to be more aggressive about it, and that's why we wonder what's going to happen to him. I mean, last year in this race, you had Corey Heim and Carson Hocevar, who was hitting everything but the lottery on Sunday, hitting each other. And Corey Heim went and tried to finish off Hocevar, which screwed Enfinger out of a championship. So, I mean, there's getting into what happened at Phoenix last year, but Eckes, who's been one of the best drivers this year, he has 11 stage wins. I think probably I would say crossed the line in terms of needing or wanting to win a race when the bigger prize is on Friday. I mean, do we think that Christian Eckes will pay after what he did on Friday, this coming Friday, Josh?
I mean, it's going to be interesting. And, you bring up the way that Christian Eckes won this race by bumping Taylor Gray out of the way and knocking Ben Rhodes out of the way to win this. And yeah, he didn't have to win this race because I think he would have been in regardless. And I think this probably would have bumped out Majeski, I think, with how it was. So he didn't have to do that. He could have raced smart, could have, let it play it out, race cleanly. Taylor Gray obviously had raced him cleanly there, but now he's made a couple of enemies, at least one there with Taylor Gray. And of course, in a kind of picture of Taylor Gray walking down pit road with his crew behind him and the media behind him there following him as he went to go hash it out in victory lane with Eckes. But now Eckes has made enemies and possibly could affect him going into Phoenix there, which, yeah, won him the race, but the long-term loss might be that he has a hard time if he's with Taylor Gray racing for position there at some point on Friday night at Phoenix. So that's definitely part of it, and that's something that driver like Eckes has got to consider. But I guess even all season, being one of the better cars throughout the year, or trucks throughout the year, that's something he failed to consider there. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, the truck series, I mean, this is kind of to be expected in the truck series. So we'll see what takes place. But I guess otherwise, for the rest of the field, I mean, it's basically the same stuff. And I mean, I guess we should also mention the other Gray brother, Tanner Gray, of course, getting into it with Dean Thompson in the race, and then that kind of led to an altercation that they had off the track there. So kind of crazy that we're seeing that with both of those two brothers having issues with different drivers and stuff. So yeah, that's pretty interesting to see how that play out. I guess the other drivers here that were in the playoff contention, like Carruth, that was thought maybe he could have been like an underdog to get into the Final Four, but I guess he had issues throughout the race and ended up finishing 20 laps down there. Yeah, I guess the other drivers like Sanchez finished in the top 5, but yeah, he probably would have needed to win. Of course, Taylor Gray, already mentioned him there, and Ankaram wasn't a factor either. So yeah, I guess it's going to set up for an interesting Final Four. I think definitely, at least, yeah, I mean, despite what Eckes did, I mean, the 4 of those guys in the Final Four, Heim, Eckes, and Enfinger and Majeski, I think those guys are definitely the ones to favorite. Any of those guys could be the favorite going into Phoenix here. But we'll see what happens there on Friday.
Yeah, we'll see for sure. And I mean, Enfinger going out and winning 2 races the round of 8 to get himself in there. There's a lot of people that are pulling for Enfinger. But then you also have the 3 best drivers in the series the whole year, in Heim, Eckes and Majeski. So it's going to be a solid battle amongst those four. Now, the argy-bargy that may take place around them obviously could play a big part in what happens. Grant Enfinger can tell us that after last year. Corey Heim as well. And then Eckes, he won the race. He won Phoenix last year, and nobody gave a crap. So it's something where we're at now. The Truck Series, of course, as poorly presented as it is too. So we're stuck with that for I don't know how many more years too, which is god awful. But all right, we'll move forward to the Brazilian Grand Prix at Sao Paulo at Interlagos circuit. MotoGP's in try and slow the finale in Spain is beyond tone deaf. Oh. Hundreds of people death and catastrophic flooding. Oh wow. In for Formula One, the results of Brazilian Grand Prix. Fish Lips, the winner, got the fastest lap. Esteban Ocon finished second, and Pierre Gasly third. George Russell, who was on the outside pole and led early in the race, finished fourth. Charles Leclerc was fifth. Lando Norris was sixth. Lando had a bad start, fell behind. In the end, Russell passed him, and then they were battling for the early part of the race. Yuki Tsunoda started third, ended up seventh. Oscar Piastri, Liam Lawson, and Lewis Hamilton, after driving Senna's MP45B the day before in the torrential rains, ended up 10th. Sergio Perez, first car outside of the points. Ollie Bierman had a rough day, but finished. We go through, Stroll didn't even, he went off the track during warm-up or whatever, the pre-race there. Albon crashed in qualifying. They couldn't repair the car. Nico Hulkenberg got DQ'd for getting help to push himself off of basically being high-sided. Franco Colapinto had a massive wreck under the torrential rain. And then Carlos Sainz, I'm trying to remember what happened to Carlos Sainz, but I think he also went off the track. He wrecked up in the whatever middle part of the circuit. Yeah, he crashed off he went off the circuit that way. So yeah, chaotic race. The rain played a huge role. They had a virtual safety car for a period of time that meant that Russell and Norris pitted, but literally a couple laps later, Colapinto crashes. They have to red flag the race. Ocon and Gasly were up there, and they ended up getting a free pit stop along with Fish Lips. They were three of, four drivers, Bottas being the other, that only made one pit stop the whole entire day. That's a rule that has to be changed. It's not sporting at all that they get to go and make a free tire change because they decided to throw a red. It shouldn't work that way. You shouldn't be able to put new tires on. I think if you wanted to go and say, oh, we have a used set of tires, but they only ran a couple of laps, or I don't know what it is. They can't do that in Formula One, I guess, but I don't think you should benefit somebody for not pitting, and then let them just have a free tire change, because then after that, it was a total procession the rest of the day. Verstappen started 17th. He ended up getting the victory. It was one of his best races of his career. And he went out there and showed why he's going to become a 3.5-time world champion here in a few weeks' time, Josh.
Yeah, Verstappen showed what he's basically been wanting to do since the last time he won, which has been a long time coming for him since the Spanish Grand Prix. But yeah, this race was very eventful, I think, because you had the weather was a factor with all the rain that happened throughout the weekend. But yeah, for Verstappen, I mean, coming back from, especially with the 5-place grid penalty, coming from 17th to win in the conditions that they had, yeah, pretty crazy for him. So, of course, they finally had a good car this weekend, and Verstappen able to show that he still definitely has it this season. And I think, even though maybe mathematically he hasn't clinched the championship yet for this season, this is definitely a statement in that direction for him. Of course, McLaren, of course, didn't capitalize again in this one, even though they still have the Constructors' Championship lead, but they definitely lost some ground there to Ferrari there. So that was definitely not the race that they needed, of course. And it does say a lot as well, because for Verstappen, I mean, even McLaren or Norris, probably could have gotten lapped. I guess if things played out there for Verstappen versus Norris, if the opportunity would have presented itself, but that was just how fast Verstappen was in this race compared to what McLaren had, and of course, and then on the other hand, you have Sergio Perez finish outside the points, so kind of shows the contrast between those two guys, and of course, he was battling it out with Lewis Hamilton there, so for the last point, but he wasn't able to get it for Sergio Perez. But yeah, of course, this definitely showed what he can do when things go his way. Of course, George Russell also led a good portion of this race, but didn't play out for him. Of course, surprised to see Alpine both get on the podium, which that's a huge result for them there, and at least they get points, and they're competitive. Of course, gives them a lot of money that they might win with their improvement in the Constructors' Championship, of course. So that's a positive result there. And Esteban Ocon led 14 laps there. So yeah, definitely good stuff there. But yeah, Verstappen, I mean, I think it's over now, unless like he has a mega collapse here in the last couple of races. But yeah, I think for Red Bull and for him, I mean, at least they can capitalize on this year. But we'll see next year with all the changes that are coming. We'll see if that's still the case.
Yeah, at least we have the Constructors' Championship to look forward to the rest of the season, because the Drivers' Championship is done. I don't think there's really much drama with that. They'll run a triple header to end their 2024 season. Vegas is the first one the week before Thanksgiving, then Thanksgiving weekend in Qatar, and then Abu Dhabi to end the year. The points, the driver standings, Verstappen 62 ahead with 3 races to go, so needs to have 78-point lead after Vegas to become a 3.5-time world champion. Norris is 24 points out of Leclerc. Piastri is 18 points ahead of Carlos Sainz. Russell ahead by 2 points on Lewis. And then, Checo distant 8th. In the teams, McLaren leads by 36 over Ferrari. And Ferrari has a 13-point lead on Red Bull. Mercedes on their own, along with Aston Martin. Alpine, as I mentioned, with their second and third place finish, go from 9th all the way to 6th. And it's a really good battle between Alpine, Haas, and RB for those positions 5th through 8th or 6th through 8th. Williams is well back, and then Sauber dead last and no points. I'll move forward to NFL week 9. Look up. Day night, Kermit the Frog figured out a way to win another damn game. Mingo, wow, Barcavius Mingo, really? Or Jonathan Mingo, okay. They should have traded for an offensive lineman concept, but in terms of last weekend, trying to get, that's what I wanted to do in week 8. Thursday night opener saw the Rams beat the Vikings 30-20. Baltimore losing to Cleveland with Jameis Winston. Lions, huge victory, destroyed the Titans. Houston barely holding on to beat the Colts. The Packers in a close matchup against Josh's Jaguars. It was a Cardinals come through at the end to beat the Dolphins. The Patriots beat the Jets. Falcons beating the Buccaneers by less than a score. Eagles win big. Chargers, another ugly grind out battle. Buffalo Buffalo with the win over the Seahawks, and then the Commanders with the last second win. Or that's week 8. What am I doing? Damn it. It seemed off, and there you go. The Bretts beat the Texans on Thursday Night Football. Cowgirls lose to the Falcons and then lose Prescott as well. Ravens destroy the Broncos. Bills hold off the Dolphins. Carolina Panthers lead by a point, and Dennis Allen got fired by the Saints. Bengals destroy the Raiders. Chargers destroy the Browns. Commanders got that Hail Mary. Jaden Daniels for them to beat the Giants. Titans over the Patriots by a field goal. Cardinals destroy the Chicago Bears by 20. Eagles, close matchup in the return to Philly for Doug Peterson. The Lions in a division battle win, and see Jordan Love have more injury concerns. The Rams beat the Seahawks by a score. Same for the Vikings over the Colts. And then in overtime, the Chiefs ended up beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Monday Night Football. So the Niners were on bye, but they're going to end up having, it looks like pretty likely that Christian McCaffrey will be back this weekend against Tampa Bay in Tampa, which will be huge for the offense because of how dynamic he is. Kicking game is work in progress, so we'll see. It seems like they're plug and play with that. You have Dre Greenlaw running on the field, so looks like he's gonna hopefully come back soon. Niners looks like didn't make any major moves in their trade deadline, so what they have is what they are gonna have for a team that way. Yeah, I mean, Niners getting that week in a crucial time to get some of these guys healthy, bring back CMC, and let's see what the second half of the season holds for the Niners. For your Jags, Josh, I'm not sure. I mean, they didn't trade anybody, it doesn't look like, or make any trades for, so it's interesting dichotomy going on. Close games, that's one thing that can be said, but unfortunately, when you're on the losing end of those close games, we're not playing horseshoes or hand grenades, we're playing football, and unfortunately, the Jaguars have been on the short end of that deal more times than not.
Yeah, they've been on the short end of the deal. Can't close games. Can't do any of that. So, I mean, yeah, it's been a problem through the Doug Peterson era, failing to close games. I mean, they had that issue kind of in 2022 where they couldn't close close games, so they figured it out. But I think they were also just given the opportunity back in 2022 to do that at the end of the year when they went on that run. But I mean, the rest of it, they've couldn't handle their own success last year, and now this year trying to get back into it. They're of course failing again. So I mean, I don't really have much to say anymore about it. Of course, 38 yards in the first half, which is abysmal for them, and then they were down 22-0, but then of course second half Trevor Lawrence puts it back together and they get back in contention. Trayvon Walker somehow returns the fumble, which I don't know if that was really a fumble from Saquon Barkley there. So and then that puts them back in contention, and then they get a late touchdown and they're almost in contention. And then they get to the 16-yard line or something, the 15-yard line, whatever yard line it was, but they get into Eagles territory. They're in the red zone, and then Trevor throws a pick because they call a Hail Mary and basically calling four verts right there and throwing a jump ball to a 5'9" running back who's third string. I mean, that's great play design right there. So got to hand it up to them for doing that. So yeah, I mean, maybe not a great decision to throw that ball or to put in that direction, but of course you can probably make the argument that the running back cut the route short and started to jump early, and maybe if he would have worked on the timing better, it would have been maybe at least an incomplete pass. But yeah, that's the season. Yeah, been a lot of close calls that not quite good enough type deals, because they, for one thing, they can't figure out how to score in the first half and how to move the ball in the first half. So that's all part of it. So yeah, I guess we have two more losses until officially have a losing season. So we'll see if they have anything against the Vikings or against the Lions and anything. If they have a bye week coming up, we'll see if if they have a losing record in the bye week, do they just go ahead and fire Doug Peterson, which I'm all for at this point. Let's advocate for his coaching career demise. So that's what we're looking for here, to be able to move on from this guy and his boy Press. So that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, it's a really bad situation. I mean, I think they have to clean house. I mean, it's also up here in the New York, New Jersey tri-state area. Both the Giants and the Jets are going to be doing that again, more than likely. The Giants are in the process of yet another losing season. Dable and Shane, they came in together from Buffalo. It hasn't worked out. Partly to do with them, but partly to do with, I mean, it's just the way things have been for the Giants since they won their last Super Bowl. They've been pretty god awful. And then the Jets are the Jets, so whatever. There's going to be a lot of coaching changes here. I mean, you already have New Orleans made the call, Jacksonville. I think they have to go the whole way. We'll see if the Cons bother to do so. The Giants and the Jets are in that mix. I'm sure the Cowgirls are going to go and end up replacing Mike McCarthy after this season, even though that has nothing to do with Dakota Prescott getting injured again. But in the end, they suck royally, and that's a bad roster. They can't replace the owner, but they're bad in general. And I mean, there's just a lot of bad teams. The Niners actually acquired Houston's Khalil Davis for the defensive line depth, so they needed a defensive tackle, so he's probably going to be put right into play on Sunday against Tampa Bay because the interior of the line has been abysmal ever since Hargrave went down. Tre'Davious White got traded from the freaking Rams to the Baltimore Ravens. Are you for real? Pittsburgh gets Preston Smith from Green Bay along with Mike Williams from the Jets. Washington gets Marshawn Lattimore for a 3rd, 4th, and 6th. So basically Washington's all in because they blew up their day 2 and 3 of their draft with Marshawn Lattimore. Jonathan Mingo goes from Carolina to the Cowgirls. Khalil Herbert goes to Cincinnati Bengals to make it a 3-headed monster at running back. Aiden Hutchinson, of course, went down for the Detroit Lions. They needed a replacement to get Zadarius Smith for a 5th next year and a 6th in 26. Arizona trades for a linebacker from Denver. Cam Robinson, of course, they made that trade with the Jags. We talked about that last week. Deontay Johnson also traded from Carolina to Baltimore. Josh Uche going from the Patriots to Kansas City. And then DeAndre Hopkins, of course, was scoring touchdowns last night, so that's convenient. Amari Cooper, that was a big one. And Devontae Adams, and so those are the trades. I mean, the Marshawn Lattimore deal is huge for Washington, and then for New Orleans, who's in a rebuild. That those picks are going to be play a major part. Yeah, you look through that. So I mean, Khalil Davis getting traded from Houston to the Niners, interesting deal. I'm curious as to what that'll mean. In general, for the Niners, they need interior line help. They need all the help they can get in regards to pass rush. They've had problems with that for years, seemingly even with Magaboy being in there um, and the like. So we'll see what happens with that right now. Playoff picture after 8 weeks, and the NFC 49ers are outside, but have a 57% playoff probability. Rams are outside. Bears, Bucks are at 4-5 now. Seahawks are at 4-5. Cowgirls 3-5. They're just basically holding on. You have Panthers, Saints, and Giants are all basically done. In the AFC, you have Patriots, Raiders, Jags, Browns, Dolphins. They're all in Titans, and Jets is right on the cusp. Yeah, those are the teams that are all probably in pretty bad shape. Bengals and Colts are right there, just outside. 2 teams would make it out of the. 3 teams would make it out of the AFC West if the season ended now. Then, of course, you have Baltimore, Pittsburgh out of the North. Only 1 team each from the AFC East and South under this projection. Lions have second best record in the league. You have Commanders and you have Falcons and Cardinals. The Vikings, Eagles, and Packers would be the teams as of now. All right. We will. I mentioned the World Series. I mean, there's the 5th inning in Game 5. They had the lead. Garrett Cole was dealing, and one of the worst half innings of baseball I've ever watched. Aaron Judge flubs the fly ball, and that opened the floodgates, essentially. But then there was a litany of other plays and errors and mistakes that led to that. But in the end, the Dodgers had a super team, and they went out there and proved it by winning in 5 games. And the big story for the Yankees now is they were able to re-sign Garrett Cole, so that's good. Will they re-sign Juan Soto? And if they do, how much will it cost? That's the real question for the Yankees. And are they going to address some of the other issues on the roster, which there are plenty, especially in the infield? So see what comes from that. The MotoGP. We're going to round up MotoGP. And Moto2 we're at Malaysia this past weekend. In the Grand Prix itself, Pecco Bagnaia beats Jorge Martin, and Nea Bassini gives Ducati a 1-3. Alex Marquez 4th, Pedro Acosta 5th, Fabio Quartararo, Maverick Vinales, Alex Rins, Marco Bezzecchi, Augusto Fernandez. Round out your top 10. And then, there you go, type Grand Prix, race sprint. I mean, in the sprint, Jorge Martin got the win over Mark Marquez and Ea Bastianini, Alex Marquez, Quartararo. Bagnaia crashed 2 laps into the race. Now, when you go look at the point standings for MotoGP moving forward, and 1 race to go, is 24 points for Jorge Martin. I mean, outside of Jorge Martin not scoring any points, he is going to be the world champion, and he will take that number 1 plate over to Aprilia, no less. The future teammates, Bagnaia and Mark Marquez, 2nd and 3rd. Bagnaia's current teammate, Nea Bastianini, is 4th. Pedro Acosta, the rookie of the year, finished right now as a 3-point lead on his future team next year, Brad Binder. We're best of the rest there. In Moto 2, get into... so in Moto 2, Celestino Vietti, Jorge Navarro for American Racing Team, Guevara, Dixon, Arbolino, Ramirez, Ancu, Canet, Chandra, Morera. So that's people there. That was that. Robert's still out with the injury. The standings, of course, championships locked up. In Moto 2, Ayagura, the champion. Aaron Canet, well out in front in 2nd. Garcia leads Aldeguer by 6, and also Gonzalez by 6. Then you have Alonso Lopez, who's 10 points back in of those guys in 6th place. Vietti, Dixon, Joe Roberts drops to 9th. And then you got Tony Arbolino and Ramirez, Chantra, etc. Okay, going in Bahrain for the WEC finale. Bahrain. I'll never say done. The 8 hours of Bahrain at the track of Bahrain. The results of the race: the number 8 Toyota of Sebastian Buemi, Brendan Hartley, Rio Hirakawa get the victory over the Porsche Penske number 5 of Matt Campbell, Michael Christensen, Fred Mackwicky. The one Peugeot there with Mikkel Jensen, Nico Muller, and Jean-Eric Verne seems to be okay, but there's that. Then you had the Alpine on 4th, BMW WRT in 5th, Cadillac Racing Ganassi. Last time there'll be a Cadillac team, finished 6th. So that's the podium for Hypercar Vista of Corsa with the win in LMGT3 over the teammates at TF Sport with their Corvettes, the Iron Lynx, Ferrari, Manthey, EMI, Porsche, rounds out your top 5. The classification. So Manti, yeah, Purex Racing is 34. And then same gap with the drivers there. So that's the Endurance Trophy for drivers and the teams. World Cup for Hypercar, the 30-point win for the Hertz Jota 12 over the 38. The Manufacturers Championship, Toyota steals it from Porsche by 2 points. Which is crazy to think how many Porsches are on the grid relative to Toyotas. The Drivers' Championship was sewn up by Lauderer, Estra, and Vantor. No credit to those guys. Let's see. Yeah, NHRA Las Vegas was basically oh wow, Greg Stanfield Factory X. Huh. So now Greg Stanfield's coming back. Oh, look at that. Cornwell Tools will sponsor. Full season sponsorship of Austin Prock. Wow. So then it'll be the Cornwell Tools U.S. Nationals. Okay. And 20 events, one race. Prock's funny got points leads, 8 wins and 14 number ones. Yeah, so I mean he's on his way to winning that funny car championship. Huge news for them. The results at Vegas. Going through, Ford Performance, NHRA Nationals for all the major brands are hoping. Blah blah blah. These set to increase and repair hybrid units. So set to drop hybrid power for next season. Or I can you turn as a new rally on group. Yeah, so that's what's for. So the change with Rally World, they won't have hybrid power, so that'll be more interesting ride. Emphasis on sprint races. Yeah, MotoGP really ought to not have them, but Ford Performance, NHRA Nationals. In Top Fuel, Brittany Force getting the victory over Doug Coletta. Austin Prock gets another win. So 8th of the year and 12th of his career. Paulie, credit to him to make the final. Pro Stock, Greg Anderson over Aaron Stanfield. Team battle. For sure. And then Pro Stock Motorcycle, Gage Herrera gets the win over Angie Smith. That's a car. Winners. Pro Stock Motorcycle. So that's NHRA. The standings heading into the race at Pomona. Justin Ashley in Top Fuel leads by 44 over Antron Brown, 45 over Sean Langdon. After that, you're kind of playing hooky with I don't know. There's 5 drivers. I mean, I guess Clay Milken's also included. So those are the ones that'll be probably battling there at Pomona. In Funny Car, yeah, Prox won it. The better battle is to see who wins between Hagen and Caps, and then also, who goes and chases over the. You got the battle between Caps and Hagen's only 7 points. Bob Dash is second. Finn right now in 5th. In Pro Stock, Aaron Stanfield 32-point lead over Dallas Glenn, 56 over Greg Anderson. Those are the other 2 single or double digits. And Pro Stock Motorcycle, Gage Herrera 123-point lead on Matt Smith, and then further back as we go along. Yeah, so that's that for the GSP roundup. Let us move. Okay. Yeah, so the championship weekend will go to Phoenix. The trucks will run first on Friday. There's 35 to 36, so nobody will go home. Swatch and 1. See if he can go without. Swatch and then Bird, Sanchez, Brett Moffitt in that what Brett Holmes had built, taking all the trucks they had over there. Grant Enfinger, one of the final 4, along with, of course, Christian Eckes, Corey Heim, Christian Eckes, and Ty Majeski. Add Moffitt randomly in a race. Let me see something here. I was picking first. Well, no, that was for Nat. Yeah, I was picking first. So, Josh, you can go first in regards to the truck series on who you think will win, or if it's somebody who actually would be up there and interested. But let us know who you are picking.
Yeah, I think for this, I think this race might be the one where we have a champion different than the winner, but it may not play out that way. But I'm going to pick Corey Heim to win the race and win the championship here. I think that's the way that this is going to play out. I think he knows what happened from last year and knows that there's a lot on the line here. So I'm going to pick him to win the race and the title. And then I guess wild card in this, pick Lane Riggs. Let's see what he can do in his final race here for this season.
Yeah, if you want to hedge for a solid double there, I mean, you got the guy that's been probably the most dominant driver or one of the most dominant drivers in Truck Series. And then you have Lane Riggs, who's been one of the best in this playoff. So he'll be getting surgery on his shoulder, dislocated shoulder after the race. So we'll see how that all works out for him. For me, I know who I want to see win. I am going to that's does it go Eckes or do I go? That's the. I'll just go out. I'll go out and I'll say that N gets the win in the championship. largely because I kind of want to see that happen. But Grant Enfinger wins race title. The wild card pick for me will be this. I'm gonna go with I'll go with Dawson Sutton. Thing I did last week or a couple weeks ago, but whatever. Sutton wild card. All right. Then in the Xfinity series, you have 38 for 38, nobody going home. You have some drivers that are getting out of the truck series, like Dye, Sawalich, Earnhardt, Cram, and Stephen Parsons. Yeah, so those are those guys. Connor Zilich in the 88. Stephen Parsons driving for Alpha Prime. Let's see here. So yeah, I went second there, so I'll go here and I'll say Eric Almirola wins the Owners' Championship for the 20 team. And my wild card, my pick for the championship, after everything that's gone on, I am going to say, I'm going to say that Justin Allgaier finally does it. Justin Allgaier finally gets that elusive championship. NASCAR, Xfinity at Phoenix. Phil goes Eric Almirola wins race and constructors, or I mean, and owners. And then I picked the 7. So yeah, Allgaier. So title. What say you, Josh, in regards to the Xfinity series?
Yeah, that's a good pick there. Allgaier winning the title. Yeah. For me, let me pull up the list here. But for me here, I'll go with. I'm gonna go with the 16 winning the race and winning the championship here, and winning the title here. So AJ Allmendinger finally wins the title in the Xfinity Series. So moving up into Cup, what a way to graduate here into the Cup Series, or get returned into the Cup Series for AJ Allmendinger winning the race and winning the title there. So I'm gonna pick that, which is gonna be tough because I don't know if he has quite the speed that maybe some of these other guys do, but of course Phoenix is a hard place to pass, and that's how it goes sometimes here. So I'll go with that. For I guess a wild card, just go with Connor Zilich here, which not really surprised, but 88 car has been fast all year, so yeah, we'll see Connor on a medium-sized oval. We'll see how he does there. So yeah, I guess that's Xfinity, and I guess I'll lead off on the Cup Series here. I'm gonna say for the Cup Series here, I'll say that Tyler Reddick. I'm just gonna go with Tyler Reddick. I think based on all the other cars, I mean Ford has been good at Phoenix the last couple of years, so it's actually going against the grain here. But I'm gonna go with Tyler Reddick here winning the championship. So I think out of all the guys, I think has the best resume this year to win the title. Blaney been good, but again, he doesn't have the full-bodied resume as much as Tyler Reddick has. Byron hasn't really been that good since like the spring, outside of winning the Daytona 500 and a few other races. And then of course Logano, we've been talking about him. He's the 15th place car otherwise, so hasn't been too much for him. So yeah, of course I also, bias aside, also want Reddick to win the title just for the lawsuit and everything, just to stick it to NASCAR. I think that's what I want to go with there. So yeah, I'll back 2311 this weekend here for the race winner. And then of course, I guess a wild card, if there is one in this race to have a wild card, guess I'll go with gonna have to go with a Ford here in a wild card. Let's go with Josh Berry in the last race for the 4 car here, and Stuart Haas. Let's see what he can do on a short track, or not a short track, but I guess a intermediate short track here in the final race for SHR.
Going out there and confidently picking Tyler Reddick, who, based on the 4 that are in there, like you said, the best of the bunch in that sense, based on performance across the season. Wins race and title. Josh Berry wild card, which is interesting because when you mentioned wild card and I thought about it, I had a Stuart Haas car. I'm wearing my Stuart Haas shirt. I'm watching the 2011 Ford 400. All kinds of Stuart Haas stuff going on. Great, solid weekend for them last weekend at Martinsville. Rodney Childers posting on his Twitter that he had to clean out his office. Basically, everybody that works for the organization that's traveling, the doors are closed as of Sunday. So Stuart Haas Racing, as we know it, legitimately at the end of Sunday's race, that's it. There will be the what they call Haas factory team or whatever, with Custer and Cup, and then Mayer and Creed and Xfinity. But I don't know if they're going to be in that same building, or if Haas goes and buys somewhere else or whatever. So it's crazy to think after all these years that it's going to end like that. But I mean, you got Merivet, so 40 for 40 cars, 40 spots. You have you got go over Gralla in the 15, Derek Kraus randomly back in the 16. You get JJ Ely, you have Jeb Burton, Chad Fincham, Jimmy Johnson racing in his 84. So full field, first time since I think Talladega probably that they had a full field. Personally, my thinking is they're gonna figure out a way to screw Reddick over, whether it's a speeding penalty or they throw enough yellows to where they give the 24 or one of the Penske cars a chance. I would have picked them otherwise because, like Josh said, they've been the best of that group, but I honestly think they got in a race manipulation last weekend, so why don't you go and screw the 45 over to stop the awkward scenario happening of Phelps, SOD, and all those dipshits having to hand the title to MJ and Denny Hamlin. I'm going to go with Byron winning the title because that's what they want. They're going to manipulate it to work that way. After what they did last week, it'll follow through. He's not going to win the race, though. He'll win the championship. He will not win the race. It'll be just like last year where Blaney finished behind Chastain. My winner for the race at Phoenix on Sunday will end up being you know what? I'll be crazy. I'm gonna go and not. You know what? No, I'm gonna rewind it back. I'm gonna go. Christopher Bell wins the race after he gets screwed out of a Final Four spot. Byron got the spot, wins the title behind him, and my wild card is my favorite driver, Chase Briscoe, because he has 2 wins. One of them's at Phoenix. And it is the final race for Stewart-Haas Racing. So there you go. Quite a narrative. Quite a interesting story that I've written there. Will it actually go down? My picks usually aren't as accurate as Josh's, of course, so I would take it with a grain of salt, but I've also been watching this sport for 30 years and have seen some stuff. So, Chris Bell wins race while Will Byron wins title. Chase Briscoe wild card. All right, Josh, it's your time to shine here with the sim segment. Let us know what's going on in the world of iRacing and gaming.
Yeah. This weekend, of course, on iRacing, the Open Wheels 500 qualifying starts this weekend. So I'm didn't enter this year, got some other plans, but wanted to bring that up because, of course, did participate in that, back in 2020. So, that's, of course, there. And I think they'll be streaming that on their YouTube or on the Race Spot TV YouTube, I think. So that should be interesting there to see. It's definitely one of the tough iRacing events to get into. So, that's part of it as well. See happening this week. Of course, also the yearly sale on iRacing starts in a couple weeks for Black Friday. Kind of back into that time of the year once again. So, of course, that's within it for people to get. So, if you want a 50% on iRacing, if you're a new customer, that's for Black Friday, and then 25% for all renewals. So that's a pretty good thing there. Prodigy Pass for Racing Prodigy, that's available in 2024 Season 4 of the MX5 Cup. And then I guess there'll be a finals at some point in December 15th. So we'll see what they're able to do there on Sunday, December 15th. Got that. NASCAR racing college championship there. I think their season series victory. Logan Clampett, Fullerton, Cal State goes out and claims that championship, and then iRacing, the Butt Kicker iRacing Pro Series, seems like they're going along. They've just completed their race at iRacing or at Worldwide Technology Raceway, so see how that goes as they continue their season coming up here with I think Laguna Seca on their schedule, and I think that's part of the championship, so that's part of it as well. And then, of course, for regular iRacing this week, GR86 at Road America this week. That's always a fun race. Their Legends cars at Scuba Circuit. You've got the Formula Fords at Scuba Circuit as well, and got Skip Barber Formula 2000s at Spa, Formula C at Indianapolis Road Course. So that should be interesting there too. Got that. Dallara F3 there. Got the Formula car. Let's see what else. Oval side, of course, Phoenix for Cup, Xfinity, and Truck as expected. Legends cars at Atlanta this week. IndyCar fixed oval series at Kentucky there. Gen 4 at Old Charlotte Motor Speedway. Then you've got the ARCA Menards at the Daytona International Speedway road course with the chicane coming off the turn 4 onto the dogleg on the front stretch there. So I actually attempted that one on Monday, and that one was interesting. Always flooring it off turn 4, and then you have to hit the brakes hard for that stupid chicane that they put in there that never made any sense there, but it is what it is. So kind of makes that one interesting though. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, that's all the iRacing there this week. That's on the schedule here. So always fun to play iRacing, of course. I think this for I guess the NASCAR iRacing series, they have the Phoenix, the full length Phoenix race, I think, on there. So as a special event. So I think that's part of it as well. So definitely, yeah, for people looking to get into it, simulating the championship race, it's definitely one to get into and race that. So yeah, looking forward to doing iRacing this week, of course, and getting back into it and everything. And of course, look up all the sim racing streamers that might be attempting the iRacing Open Wheels 500. Of course, that's always a tight event, and being able to qualify for that, which I think, yeah, pole qualifying on the 9th, so that's on Saturday, so you got that there. So yeah, that's all for iRacing this week. Of course, got the Twitch stream, of course, at UC2 on iRacing there, so go on there and watch that when I'm up, of course. Twitter, JP Huffine, and of course got the YouTube page at Grip Super Podcast. Go on there and watch all the streams, of course, and all the videos that are up there. So we'll have this one up soon and get everything all up there. So yeah, hate that we're talking about NASCAR in a bad light like this, but it's definitely one of the more controversial endings to a race that we've ever seen, and sure there'll be more shenanigans so as long as they have this playoff system. So we'll see how it goes, and looking forward to discussing who wins the title here next weekend, or I guess in a week from now.
Yeah, we'll be back next week a little earlier due to bowling for league for me, because a group booked out the whole entire bowling alley, so they decided to move our league over to Tuesday. So we'll go and recap everything that happened at Phoenix and what to look at with a very lean slate of racing now and into NFL and the like. You can find me at PG Matthew 28 on Twitter. You can find me at PGMGSP 28 on Instagram and Threads. You can find us at Gripstrip Pod on Twitter, and Josh, of course, mentioned his handles. And yeah, that is it for this week on the GSP, and we'll be back next week for episode 245, and maybe there's an omen with that, 245, if for Tyler Reddick, perhaps. We'll see what happens, if it is Tyler Reddick or who it'll be in Cup or whatever series, and we'll tell you all about it here on the GSP. So for Josh, as always, my sidekick, my good buddy, always great to have your insights on this sport. And the fact is, it's crazy what we're watching these days, but we'll see if there's any argy-bargy at Phoenix this coming weekend, and definitely talk about it next week on the GSP. So thanks for listening. Tell your friends about it, and we'll see you next time.